Hi guys, hope you're well. Welcome to DOdaily, Thursday Thoughts. Des here, of course, live, ready to answer your questions. Really looking forward to getting stuck into those. Got a good selection to go at as usual. As I've expected over the last couple of weeks, the running questions are starting to get thrown at me. A lot of big events coming up. So I've got a lot to go at there, but a variation, stuff that hopefully can cross over. Hopefully can pass over a few words about how I'm feeling, what I've been up to, just to sort of motivate and inspire people to keep pushing on through the week. Of course, it's Thursday again, every single week for the last 18 months. I'm surprised it's Thursday. These things roll around pretty quickly. When you do daily every weekday, I was just looking this afternoon, nearly 400 episodes. And whilst I'm mega critical of myself, I do see a little improvement. Really, really love what I do. It's not the most watched YouTube channel out there, but like I say, I love doing it. Keeps me sort of on the straight and narrow, I believe. It helps me sort of check in all the time where I'm at. And that's what all this is about, isn't it? It's just about trying to check in with the way I'm feeling, which can perhaps help others. On a Thursday, I look for input from those looking in, just to sort of help them along, and perhaps those who are looking in as well, just to sort of get a different idea of the same thing ultimately, because we're all the same at the end of the day, aren't we? We all experience the ups and downs throughout the week, and really sort of at the end of the day, whilst there's no one size fits all, we completely appreciate that. It's just about sort of understanding how other people might view certain subjects. And that's what Thursdays are about, aren't they? Just answering the questions that are thrown at me the best I can. Sometimes I have to do a little bit of research, but what I try to be is just sort of open and honest. I don't do too much research into it these days. So whereas at the start I do daily, trying to sort of do my best to get everything as articulate as I can. 18 months ago, I'd make notes. I'd try and make sure I passed over the right information. The reality is this is my sort of vlog. It's my opinion. It's what I think, So I just tried to sort of pass it across the best I know. If you've got any input, if you've got any better information to add, please drop it in the comments below. I'd love that. Keep the chat going. I'll try and pick those up throughout. Really enjoy sort of dabbling in that now. As time goes on, I'm trying to sort of add different things to do daily. So really, really enjoying what I'm doing. Like I say, whilst Thursday feels like a check-in every week, it feels like we're coming towards the end. It's just about pushing through, isn't it? This week in particular, feeling really good. The theme, I guess, has been about making that. It's been around that bold decision I made to withdraw from the Manchester Marathon this year, defer it until next April, and that's been a real sort of positive more than anything. It's been a real sort of surprisingly a massive thing for me. I'm feeling great about sort of taking that weight off my shoulders. All of a sudden I feel like I can get into a better routine, better habits, plan for something different, where that was putting a lot of pressure on me, and will I have time to do it? Will I have time to get the miles in? Now I can sort of think forward, think with a little bit more clarity, prolong my training, but hopefully get back to that point where in 6-8 months' time, I'll be right back in shape and ready for it. But that's knocked on into everything I've done. So I've tried to explain throughout the week how making a big decision like that, I touched on earlier in the week how sometimes a lot more serious decisions than whether you're going to run a marathon or not, perhaps whether it might be quitting a job or ending a relationship, whilst they're not easy to make, sometimes as soon as you've done it, it might be easy. I'm not telling anyone to go out and do that, but if you're not happy, sometimes we have to call it a day, and that's the reality, isn't it? So it's that feeling you get as soon as you've made it. It's horrible, it's hard, it's upsetting, it causes anxiety, but it's amazing sometimes when you make that decision, it just lifts off. And that's kind of it's kind of what happens every day on DOdaily. I just wanted to sort of explain this, by talking openly. Sometimes people question what I do. I feel, sometimes people are a little bit scared of what I do, a little bit scared of talking. Seem to be like when I mention DOdaily, people are standoffish and like don't want to talk about it. That's absolutely fine. But for me personally, it's about sort of putting myself out there, opening myself up, making myself accountable, almost reminding myself every day, that check-in thing I've been talking about. And it's like that weight off my shoulders. As soon as I've got it out there, I can move forward, even if that's just on a daily basis, weekly basis, whatever. As soon as I've said what I've got to say, it's almost like I've accepted it and I can move forward. And that's the big thing in all that, isn't it? It's acceptance. Just kind of, like I said, I just kind of wanted to say that because it has been the theme this week, but it's put me in a really good frame of mind. There is still one or two little niggles, with the running, first of all, because I've probably not run that much recently. I've got a calf strain after doing a couple of runs, so I was unable to get out today and do what I wanted, but it's not dampened my enthusiasm too much. I'm still really looking forward to things. And in everyday life, things aren't perfect. I've still got to work hard, still got to work away at what I'm doing, trying to get people to understand DOdaily, do running, all the activities, trying to understand how much I want to help them. It's not always easy, but it's something I'm prepared to put time to it and give a real go. So hopefully that explains a bit about where I am, where I'm at with Thursday Thoughts, how I use it, how I use DOdaily and take things forward. And one of the things I will say, looking at last week's throwback question, it was probably the wrong thing to ask. Kind of confused people, really. I always say this is a work in progress, and all I was looking for was that friendly kind of rivalry. I touched on last week that I was going to watch Forest at Derby, the big football game for all Forest fans, all Derby fans, everyone in the East Midlands. It's the most well-known game, a big occasion for all. I enjoyed that last week in a strange sort of way. They're hardly enjoyable affairs. But what I was kind of asking was for people to come up with rivals, just friendly rivalries. John came up with a good one, to be honest. He's a Novak Djokovic fan, and he says he's not keen on Federer. And that's all I kind of meant. I didn't mean someone you hate. Lots of people, when I was asking them face to face, was like, well, I don't want to say such and such. And that's not really what I meant. So this is kind of a lesson to me as well, I was looking to switch that into a positive, John likes Novak Djokovic, Somebody said to me that they don't like Burger King. They prefer McDonald's. Not quite sure that's worth promoting, but that's what I was intending. Of course, I didn't quite get that message right. So again, it's just a lesson learned, isn't it? There's no right or wrong in it. I'm not trying to sort of be 100% right all the time. It's just finding those things that work, and that was perhaps not one of them. So I'll quickly skip over that. There'll be a better throwback question at the end of this week's episode. So moving into the questions, and like I say, thank you for those who continue to support, those who continue to throw them my way every week. Dawn asked first. She says, "Do you have any tips for breaking in running shoes?" It's interesting this because I've not long seen Dawn. As part of the coaching group I do on a Thursday before every episode, we was having a bit of a laugh and a joke about her shoes and the fact that her old ones have got holes in and things like that. But I've just been doing a bit of reading on this. I've got new shoes myself today, and it's something because of my injuries. I've been really struggling. I bought a pair of new shoes which I've worn sort of religiously over the last couple of years. And I felt that that's what caused my injury. So it's a real important issue, isn't it? When you're doing running, when you're doing activity, to get something that's really comfortable. The pair of shoes I bought, which injured me, when I bought them the first time, probably 3-4 years ago, I put my foot in them and it felt amazing. It felt like they were just made specifically for me. But over time, they've developed and they've changed, and I felt a bit flat-footed. And one of my first ones in them, I did my hamstring, and it's really knocked me back. So trainers are a really important thing, aren't they? So what I will say, first of all, is make sure you get the right ones. If you can try them on, That's absolutely fantastic. Of course, we all kind of rely on internet these days, and it's generally a little bit cheaper, if I'm honest, to buy running trainers on the internet. But getting a gait analysis is important, trying them on in the shop maybe, and if you do have to resort to the internet, perhaps just use the internet to buy them. But it's really important to find something that works. So a couple of ideas there about getting the right ones. But when it comes to sort of working them in, I did a bit of research into this, and there was an expert saying that basically, if you're buying the same trainer and it does feel comfortable, like as soon as you put your foot in, you don't actually need to sort of wear them in too much. It is going to feel a bit stiff, it's going to feel a bit awkward, but your feet are resilient. Your feet will take to it. They'll take to the trainer almost immediately. And surprising that, because I've never heard that before. If you do buy a new trainer, what the recommendation is to sort of ease them in over 2 or 3 weeks, probably no more than that. And if you're doing some lighter runs, or walking, my new trainers today, a different brand completely. I've got a walked in them. That's a good idea. Like any shoes, really. You walk around in them just to get them feeling a bit more comfortable. And like I said, the expert said there that you should probably sort of just take 2 or 3 weeks. If you know you're going to have some steadier runs, wear them for that. Or also rotate them with your old shoes. So over that period, just kind of wear one day, wear one the next, And there was a stat there which I found really, really interesting about that. And I know a lot of people do this. Some people rotate the shoes anyway and wear a completely different type over different ones. If you wear 2 pairs of shoes, alternatively, it's supposed to reduce the risk of injury by 39%. Reduce the chance of injury by 39%, which is quite staggering, really, isn't it? And that's something really to bear in mind. And of course, with someone like myself who feels they was injured because of a pair of trainers, it's definitely something to sort of consider, take forward, and try to sort of understand a lot more about how trainers really do impact us, because that is quite high, isn't it? If you can reduce the chance by 39% just by choosing the right trainers. What I did also sort of read up on there was if you're wearing your old trainers too long, if you've sort of poked your toe through the uppers, and Dawn in particular, having sort of spoken to her this evening, if you do wear them too long, that can increase your risk of injury around your ankles, around your knees. And Dawn said to me in particular, she was suffering with her knees earlier in the week, so it might actually be time to throw those old trainers out because you can wear them for way too long. So that's worth considering as well. So there's a few things to go at. Like I say, 2-3 weeks, perhaps rotating the trainers. But once you start sort of feeling those little strains, the recommendation is to not wear them for longer than 4 weeks. Once you start poking your toes through, you're feeling that it's time to change. Perhaps 4 weeks is the maximum you should keep them. That gives you a perfect crossover period, doesn't it? Like I say, really good question there, and particularly for me at this time due to my injury. Thanks for the question, Dawn. Moving on to question 2 today. It's from Kay. We were just chatting about this before. You've mentioned the nights are starting to draw in on your videos this week. How will this affect your activity levels? Well, to be honest, I'm hoping I really pick up and I can do a lot more because of the injury. But in general, I actually prefer the darker, cooler evenings. I'm not. I mentioned this as well this week. I'm not one for running too much. Well, I do run a lot in the summer, but I don't feel comfortable in the summer. I like it when it's a bit cooler, when there's a bit of rain about. I always say skin's waterproof, one of my boring cliches, but I love a bit of rain and wind in my face, really enjoy that, so getting out there early mornings. What I do notice at this time of year, particularly as the Robin Hood half marathon's coming up, I always know at the end of September that the mornings are really chilly, till about 9 o'clock, because I go out to do that particular half marathon, and it's really chilly. But by the end of the race, it's generally really, really warm. So you get that little bit longer in the morning, and of course, as the night's drawing, you get more time in the evening to get out and get those cooler runs in. And if you are somebody who struggles in the heat, it's really, really useful. Of course, there's lots of things about running in the dark which we have to consider. But whilst it's still light in the mornings, I'm noticing on a Friday morning, just that little bit chillier when I get out. I have to sort of consider a little bit more about wearing a hoodie and things like that. I've been going out in a t-shirt. So it's just that it's a lot tougher to get going, and you have to dig in and find that motivation to get out in the cooler temperatures. But once you get going, it's a little bit more comfortable. And for me personally, that's something I really enjoy. And like I say, when the rain comes as well, and the colder days, whilst it is tough, sometimes it's hard to get out of bed. It's really useful. In terms of my activity levels, as Kay asked there, I'm hoping they rapidly improve because of the lack of activity. But getting back into it should be a little bit easier as things start cooling. Personally, I'm going to look at getting up earlier a lot more again. It's one of those things I always talk about. It never seems to work out for me for whatever reason. So if I can get up and use those cooler temperatures, it's going to be a lot easier to get out there. So thanks for the question. And question 3 today. I mentioned there Friday mornings, and of course I'll come on to what I'm going to do tomorrow shortly. But I'm on the Robin Hood Way, and I've been doing this sort of over about the last 4 or 5 months throughout the summer. It's been really, really enjoyable. But I always, I sort of remember last autumn getting out and about in different places, seeing the sunrises. So I'm really looking forward to sort of getting stuck into that and getting it completed, getting it done. I was talking to Kay this evening about a potential date when I hope to finish by a course in the next few weeks, next month or so. The mornings are going to sort of get a lot shorter, the darkness is going to last a lot longer. So I'm going to have to really get stuck into it and get it sort of ticked off, particularly before the clocks change. And that's probably the weekend where I'll look to finish. So I'm going to have to start sort of thinking about what I'm going to do next, how I'm going to do Friday mornings. It did become a bit of an issue over last winter, because it got later and later before I could get out and do a video. So Ben asked a great question. What other long distance walking route do you fancy trying once you've completed the Robin Hood Way? I've just refer back to Monday. I took the Do Running guys, which Ben is a part of, to do the second part of the Robin Hood Way, the second 20 miles. We did it all in one. I revisited it, of course, and showed them it for the first time. 20 miles throughout the day. We was out for about 9 hours. An amazing day. All the guys enjoyed it. So again, it's something that people really take to when you set these sort of mini challenges up. For me, it's almost like a pilgrimage on a Friday morning. Really, really enjoying it. 1 or 2 things have crossed my mind in terms of long distance walks. One thing I'm looking at in particular for next year, and I've spoke to Kay about this, is perhaps spending 3 or 4 days away, actually taking in one of these walks. I've mentioned the Cleveland Way before. I've mentioned the Norfolk Coastal Path. That's about 75 miles long. The Jurassic Coast as well. We keep talking about getting down to the south coast, down to the southwest, somewhere that neither of us have been very much. There's also the South Downs Way, which is something that intrigues me. I've seen a lot of people do that. So there's lots to go at. The one potentially there by what me and Kev have spoken about is the Jurassic Coast. I know a couple of friends who are down there at the moment, and they're posting up some amazing pictures. So that really sort of grabs me, the fact I can go away down south and perhaps do 15, 20 miles a day over 3 or 4 days, and then we can have sort of a bit of holiday around it. That's something I'm really looking at for next year. So that's something, locally, there's... Kay informs me there's like a round Nottingham type walk, which again is something I can look at. But I suppose what I'll do initially once I've finished is just take a few weeks just to get out locally, revisit some of the places I did last year, because that's something we need to remember as well, isn't it? We take so much from visiting certain places, and then we tend not to go back for a long time. Most of the places I visited and wake up to walk, I got so much from them again, remembering sort of my childhood or times I've been there in the past. When the reality is, sometimes we don't go there enough, do we? And of course I get used to the river, and even that, as much as I talk about walking around the river, what it can do for me, whether it's early in the morning, late at night, sometimes I don't get down there for 2 weeks, which is bizarre. It's about 100 yards away from me, and it's such an amazing place to be. So it's worth remembering that some of the thing, whilst it's good to have like new targets, new goals, and new ideas, and of course to keep sort of shaking things up with this kind of thing, it's great just to sort of get back to the places the places you enjoy and really make the most of. And of course walking, I recommend it to anybody. It keeps me going when I'm injured and when I'm not feeling great, and it really sort of gives me a new lease of life when I can get out. I've been talking in the last few weeks about getting out on a Monday. I'm lucky enough to be able to sort of get out Monday afternoons. I kind of work before and work after and work all around the either end of the day, and I tend to get the best part of the day in terms of weather generally, to get out there. And when I can get out on a Monday and I can get at least 10k, and it really, really sets me up. And that's generally in the same place as well, and I use that purposely to put me in a good frame of mind. But there's lots to go at on that one bend. There's so many. One thing I have learned about walking is every time I'm somewhere now, I see those public footpath signs, things I probably never noticed before. You never really sort of take them in, but now all of a sudden, if I'm in the car or just sort of on public transport, I notice these signs, and I'm always then on my phone looking where these routes take you. So there's lots to go at on that. Look, keep an eye out. I'll definitely have something in the bag, lined up for not long after I finish this. But before the clocks change, I hope to get this Robin Hood Way concluded. Looking forward to that, but also not looking forward to it, because I'm absolutely loving it. Learning so much along the way, taking so much from it, and of course attacking the day. So on the back of that, what I'd like to sort of leave as a throwback question this week, and perhaps you'll give me some ideas. Pop this in the comments if you will. Where is your favourite place to walk? You just might inspire me to get out there. Somebody said to me last week, where did you learn about the Robin Hood Way? I don't actually know. And I always wonder when I'm out on it, how many people actually walk that route? I took 15 guys up there on Monday. Do many more than 15 people a year walk it? Some of the parts are really sort of overgrown and a bit tricky to get through. Whilst you can pass them, they're a little bit tricky. So it always intrigues me how many people actually know about these things. And I'm sure there's lots. I'm sure there's lots of rambling associations and clubs that do them, but there's just no sort of no stats out there about how many people do it. When you do a running event, you'll know how many do it by a finishers list. It's just really interesting to know how people sort of approach these things and where they go. Like I say, if you've got a favourite place to walk, I'd love to see where it is in the comments. Like I say, it might just inspire me. It might give me my next idea. It might answer Ben's question a bit better than I just did there. Of course, drop it in the comments. Please email des@dorunning.org.uk. Love to get some responses to that. I think that's a really good throwback question this week. Not like that rubbish one I posted last week. But like I say, it's always a work in progress. There's no right or wrong answers to any of these things. It's just about getting some feedback, keeping the conversation going. And like I've touched on already at the start of the episode in terms of why I do this, that's all it is, keeping the conversation going. That's all it takes sometimes. If somebody's interested, if someone's supporting your projects, if somebody understands why you ask certain things, it just helps. And that's all I'm trying to do here. And just by talking about favourite places, whilst it might help me, it might inspire somebody else as well. And that's all we're trying to do. Just trying to sort of help people along, inspire them to stay active, encourage them to get out there, whether it's for a walk, whether it's early in the morning because they might be struggling in the day, whether it's in the middle of the day on a Monday because that's what works for me, and some people might not want to go out too early in the morning. They might work late, they might have responsibilities in the morning, all that kind of thing. That's all I'm trying to do with this. So, of course, having said all that, the next episode of Do Daily is Wake Up to Walk. I'll be continuing the Robin Hood way, ticking a few more off, trying to get nearer to that finish point. It's actually really interesting. I'm starting to approach a point where I actually finish, but bizarrely it goes very close to where it finishes, and then just this massive loop around the top of Nottinghamshire. And I mean a big loop. You're talking 40, 50 miles. Still got that much to go. I'll be looking to get a big one in the next couple of weeks. But for tomorrow, it's going to be a bit of a race against time, getting up to the north of the county again. It's all at the wrong end. Bit of a logistical nightmare, but that's all part of the challenge now. It's all part of fitting it in. It's all adding to that accountability. But what it'll do more than anything, it'll give me that chance to extend my thoughts on where I'm at, to check in again that time before I jump onto the video, to enjoy my surroundings, to enjoy the peace, the serenity, get in touch with my spiritual side, something else I've mentioned this week, and then sort of explain it back, and try to look forward to the weekend ahead. I'll have more details about what I'm up to, hopefully you've liked the video first of all, but you've understood what I've tried to say and understood why I tried to answer these type of questions. Like I say, if you've got anything to ask at all, please drop it on any of the comments throughout the week, any of the videos, any social media connected to Do Daily. A bit of a schoolboy error again. I've not had that one in across, so there you go. Follow any of those. I'd love you to sort of get involved and keep the conversation going. Like I say, all I'm doing is trying to be a little bit of a source of information for people that might not know where to get it. Please follow, like, subscribe, do all those things, and of course check back in the morning. Hopefully I'll have a few interesting facts about where I am, and like I say, use it to really, really attack the day. Until then, guys, just doing it.